Hey guys, it's Chris here. It's getting to that time of year where we're starting to look at winter, and we're approaching October here, so it's time for my first preliminary winter forecast of the season. I'm doing it a bit earlier than I did last year, just primarily because they're starting to become a consensus of what kind of winter we're looking at. And I wouldn't say confidence is like guaranteed at this point, but it's pretty high of what we're looking at this time of the year. My official forecast won't come out until early November, but for now we're going to stick with this preliminary winter forecast and give you guys a general idea of what to expect this upcoming winter. So here we're looking at the current state of the ENSO, and if you remember last year we had a very strong El Nino, and basically what that means is we're looking at this area, the eastern Central Pacific Ocean here, of the temperature anomalies for these ocean sea surface temperatures basically. And right here you can see this time this year we're looking at anywhere from average to cooler temperatures in the ocean. Now last year we had a lot of these, see these reds up here? We had a lot of those reds centered right along the same area that's much cooler this time of year. So in other words, warmer waters in this general area, that's going to be your El Nino years. Colder waters is your La Nina years. Now, right now, we originally thought this winter was going to be a La Nina, but recent trends have been showing a more neutral state of the ENSO as we head into the winter. So right now we're leaning towards a neutral winter rather than a La Nina winter. What that means here, let's take a look. Here's a typical La Nina winter. You have a nice high pressure right south of Alaska. It creates a ridge. The west will be warm, and it will be mainly northern stream dominant, so you'll get a lot of clipper systems, not much in the way of big east coast storms. Subtropical jet stream is really not a factor, hence why much of the southern United States is dry here. It's showing some warm temperatures down south, which can be expected with the jet stream towards the north. Pacific Northwest is wetter than normal. As for the Northeast, it's mainly a dry and cold winter with shots of clippers that can add up over time. So I shouldn't really say it will be dry for a typical La Nina, but it won't be. You won't get those blockbuster snowstorms in a La Nina pattern. Now, we originally were looking at this kind of a winter, but instead, recent trends have shown. And when I say recent trends, I'm talking about trends over the past 2 months. We're looking at a more neutral ENSO. So what this means, it's generally it's pretty similar. Not gonna lie, except the southern, subtropical jet stream can get a little bit more into play here, as you can see by this map. Now this is just your typical neutral ENSO. One thing that is common is you have cold across the north. It's a little bit warmer to the south here. And notice this area of what they have labeled as wet. That's just because you have your northern stream and your southern stream meeting up generally in that area. So yeah, you're going to get a lot of systems to ride along that path. Now this is not your classic blockbuster snowstorm path. Typically you want to see it develop more towards the south and have it right up the coast. We're not looking at that kind of year. Last year we had that one big snowstorm. There's some good news and bad news with this winter for snow lovers in Pennsylvania and my local area. Yeah, we might not be getting another 30-inch snowstorm this year, or even 100 years from now. But this year it does look like we'll have more numerous events, a lot of clippers, a couple of these what they're called as southwest flow events that can add up over time. So if you get several moderate events, you can have your average to maybe a little bit more than average snowfall this year. For other areas outside of my region in the southwest, it's not looking like a very wet winter. It's more of a dry winter here, warmer than normal. We can look at some anomalies here that I've put together basically anomalies are from winters that are similar to what this upcoming winter might turn out to be. And I have several here listed, and you can read them. There's about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, looks like 8, if I'm counting right. Looks like I have 8 winter anomalies here. 83, 84, 95, 96, 96, 97, 66, 67, 59, 60, 05, 06, and 13, 14. 4, 5, 6. Nope, that's definitely 7. I'm counting 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep. Glad I can count. Anyways, that doesn't really matter. So this is the temperature anomalies, and notice this is what I'm saying. It's colder up north. Very cold over the Midwest. This could be a Chicago winter. The preliminary look at it is a more Great Lake interior winter. Kind of similar to 2000, I think it was 2010, 2011, when Chicago got that pretty substantial snowstorm on Groundhog's Day. Not saying another Groundhog's Day blizzard is coming, but it's shaping up to similar to that when it comes to what areas will see the most snow. Towards the southwest, it's going to be warmer than normal. Common sense says warmer than normal, probably not as much snow, except for the higher terrain, of course. Now, when we look at the precipitation-wise here, the south is just much different than last year. The south is going to remain slightly below average. Last year, the subtropical jet stream was cranking with El Nino. We got a lot of rain. Not so much this year. For the much of the northeast part of the United States, it's around average. Could go either way. There's a little narrow strip of above average precipitation-wise here, but that's just a narrow strip. And then the Pacific Northwest is going to have a wet winter. That doesn't necessarily mean snow, just a lot of dampness. Of course, the higher elevations will get pretty significant amount of snow in the mountainous terrain. Lower elevations like Seattle and Portland, just having your average winter in terms of snowfall. Now, this is my forecast. This is forecast for the temperatures here of this upcoming winter. And it's basically just a summary of what I just showed you, with a little bit of my own input of what I think this winter will be like. And it's generally the same story that I've been telling you. Much colder up in the Great Lakes region, includes Chicago. For the Northeast, it's going to be colder in the interior, south and east of, say, a line from Harrisburg to Allentown. It's going to be more on the average temperature side. At this point, because it is still pretty early, the coastal areas here, it could go either way. They might be a warmer than average winter, might be a little bit colder. Right now, I'm kind of just blending it and saying an average winter. We'll see how it goes over the next month, how it trends. But right now, it's definitely an interior winter in terms of cold and snow. Southwest, it's going to be warmer than your typical winter. That's pretty much been the story for these parts of the United States for these winters. I mean, your higher elevations, of course, get snow, but for the other regions, it's been pretty warm and dry, especially this year. But also the past few years in California and those areas. Now, when we look at the snowfall map, before I even show you, I just want to say it's very general because it is still late September. And for my actual forecast, when it comes out in early November, it will have a much more detailed look to it. And I think I'll probably even have a month-by-month breakdown. But at this point, I'm just going for a generic map here and highlighting the spots that are going to be above average and below average snowfall. So here it is right now. And same story here. The Great Lakes region, it's going to be, I think, their year for the snowfall. And even into the interior northeast here. We're going to get a lot of these clipper systems I mentioned that are going to take paths similar to this. I don't know if you guys can see that. I can't remember if my mouse is on or not. But anyways, basically, Alberta clippers that come out of Canada drop down south. Depending how far south they get, they can vary from anywhere from southern Missouri to even in the Minnesota area, and then track somewhere across the Northeast, whether that's upstate New York or Maryland. It just varies. But regardless, there will be several of them, and over time, those 1 to 3, 3 to 6 inch snowstorms, they do add up. But what's going to be not here this winter is an active subtropical jet stream. I have below average snowfall. Now these areas, let me just tell you, these areas already average either no snowfall at all or less than 10 inches. So saying below average snowfall is not really that big of a deal for these areas, but it's definitely not going to be above either. So these areas are going to be pretty dry, and this below average does extend into coastal regions of Maryland, Virginia, Delaware, New Jersey. I think the coastal regions will be into those mixed bag systems to even rain events, while the interior, north and west of I-95, I-95 might be the winter battle zone this year in terms of the rain-snow line. But anywhere wet, say State College, north and west, that's what you're looking at for your above average snowfall. South and west towards California, you're looking at a below average season here. Even in the mountainous terrain, but the mountainous terrain, you know, those areas, they average so much snowfall. Saying a little bit below average is not the greatest deal in the world. I know the resorts there for your skiing and stuff, they might be affected a little bit, but it shouldn't be too severe in terms of lackluster of a snowfall for them. Now, elsewhere where I have this ginormous area of average, at this point, this is why I'm saying it was a very generic map. I'm going to be honest, at this point, it could go either way, and I don't want to specify one thing or another without too much confidence. So I just stuck with average because it really can go either way at this point. We'll see how many Great Lake cutters we have this year. I don't know. If we have a negative NAO, that could be a big factor, because having negative NAO up in the North Atlantic, that creates blocking, and whatever storm that does develop in the south here, instead of just scooting along, even these clippers that redevelop along the coast, instead of just scooting along and just creating minor amounts, if we develop a negative NAO, they could slow down. And we had that for that blizzard, and that blizzard stalled out. Now that was a cutoff low, so it's a little bit different, but that blizzard stalled out for over 30 hours. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen again, but when we slow down a system from just like a 6-hour event to a 12-hour event, that can make a difference between just a few inches of snow and, say, over half a foot. And what's really going to be helpful this year for colder in the Great Lakes region and even Northeast, and a little bit warmer here out west, is we're going to have a negative EPO, which I should have showed you in my first graph here, but I forgot. Let's see. Let's come back here to... Alright, I wanted to show you this beforehand, but what we're looking at here is the negative EPO, and you can see what that means is just basically we have warmer sea surface temperatures up here just in the Gulf of Alaska, if you want to say that. And what this does is it helps create ridging. So we got this nice ridge developing, and it will cause the jet stream to make a dip into the lower 48. Now, typically this dip here will still be north of the western United States, but take a dip over the central plains, and then before it bounces back up. But usually it's past the coastal eastern seaboard here. So basically, the east coast will be right on that borderline of whether it's in the jet stream or not, and that will determine whether they have warmer temperatures this winter or cooler. But right now, I'm just on the borderline. Um, for the Great Lakes, though, it's definitely going to be a colder year, even the interior northeast. That's it for now, guys. If you have any questions, just please comment below. Subscribe for more, and I'll have my forecast updates here in the coming weeks. My official forecast will be out early November. If you want to follow me on Facebook, I'll begin posting a lot more as we approach the winter season. My Facebook page is Dauphin County Weather. It's my local page here for Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. But yeah, I'll keep this update on my YouTube channel. Please comment any questions you have below, and I'll try to respond as quick as possible.